Thank you very much.
DMCC. In the heart of Dubai, just 7 hours away, from 5 billion people and infinite possibilities. Our free zone is home to the leading businesses of today and of tomorrow, where over 100,000 people live, work and thrive. In a smart city, connected to every device on Earth. We have made company setup fully digital, with a personal touch, fast and seamless. This is a place where innovation transforms ideas into opportunity, and networks forge relationships that last. We are also the world's leading commodities hub, a global center for trading everything from tea, coffee, to gold and diamonds, and so much more. Where ancient trade routes meet the infrastructure of the future. To grow your business and reach the world, set up your company in the world's leading free zone.
As I was saying earlier, thank you all for this event. It's great to be here in Brazil, and the distance from Dubai to Brazil is not an issue with me personally. Any chance to visit Brazil, I'll take it, to be honest, as much as the Pulses conference is important to me. My last visit was to Sao Paulo about 2 years ago. I was very impressed with the city. I was very impressed with the opportunities. Despite the challenges, Brazil is a very important partner in this industry. As mentioned, one of the Global Pulse Confederation are based in Dubai, and it's a big privilege for us to have them there. In DMCC, we focus on a number of commodities. Not all of these commodities have a confederation or a council, and we see how they struggle. So there's a special appreciation to what you guys have done so far. And the challenges will keep coming as consumers become more and more sophisticated and demanding. We have to protect our products and commodities. And I see these challenges in gold, diamonds, and other commodities as well. I'll try to add what maybe was missed on the video. It touches on tea and other commodities, but did not touch on some of the commodities we've come up recently. In any case, DMCC was established as a quasi-government. It's a government of Dubai entity. And the main target for DMCC, in addition to it being a free zone, is to attract businesses from all over the world, trade as well, connecting the industry to the GCC, to the region. With the expansion of our airports, ports, and DP World, which is available pretty much in every continent around the world. DMCC today is different than it was 17 years ago. Some of our initiatives that we look at, for example, coffee, we look at the indirect value that we get from it, including the activities from the ports and etc. So it's no longer a free zone that's looking at developing its own part. It's part of the industry. And you realize that the more you follow with DMCC. I believe today we are over 16,000 businesses, and in my opinion, the past 18 years we've established DMCC twice. Once in 2002, and we had to restructure and address the challenges in 2008 with the global recession. We didn't give up. It was tough, but we did adjust, and we were about 1,300 companies, and we became the best global free zone globally after the global recession. In part, we work closely with our members in the pulses, diamond, gold, and other commodities, and it worked out. I think part of the reason is DMCC looks at the industry as part of the same community. You know, we share common interests. We don't trade, we don't compete with you, but it's important that we provide the services you require and assist you where the challenges may come from. I mentioned coffee a few times in my in the opening. We looked at in 2016 we looked at what commodity we can add to the industry, and I understand with Sudhakar we talked a lot about looking at services we can add to the pulses and all that. There are challenges in it. In any case, I picked coffee in 2016 over powdered milk, halal meat, and I feel halal meat is important to look at in the near future, and saffron. I picked coffee because Dubai is the largest re-exporter of tea globally, with 60% for the past 5 or 6 years now. And 80% of the countries that produce coffees also produce tea, so the network was more or less there. Third, Dubai is becoming more and more, there's a big coffee community growing in Dubai. We no longer drink Arabic and Turkish coffee only. We ask for single origin coffees, we ask for specialty coffees, cold brew, cold drip, even bullet, I think it's called bullet coffee or bulletproof coffee. And there are more and more innovative beverages coming from the coffee industry. In any case, it was difficult. We were told that Latin America should not be looked at for the coffee business because of the disadvantage that LATAM has logistically with the African producing countries. We took the advice, but we did not work on that. What we did was we had a test trial, and it included a coffee company that shipped coffees from Brazil to Dubai. We rented a warehouse, had the facilities set up there, processed the coffees, and there was no impact on the price of the coffee coming via Dubai. So from our perspective, you know, that's how we work. We do experiment on our own, we check, we find out to ourselves. So we're grateful that we used Brazil as a test here, and it worked. You'll be hearing more about our coffee center later. This is not about the coffee, I understand, but that was just one example. It is expected that the food production will double by 2050 to meet the demand of the rapidly increasing population. In my opinion, when I'm asked which commodity I prefer, it's always the consumable ones, the beverages, the tea and the coffee, because it's predictable a little bit in some ways. I understand the competition doesn't make it as simple as that, and the consumers are getting more and more sophisticated. But at the end of the day, people will have to drink coffee. Whether the markets are bad or good, you need to think about it. Whether you need tea or coffee, whatever works for you. And I'd like to also share that I'm delighted that this event will be taking place in Dubai next year, along with the Expo 2020. So I really look forward to that. I also look forward to visiting Brazil's pavilion there. It's important that I also share with you that from my side, working with the industry for 18 years, we faced a lot of challenges. There's a lot of things that will come up, but it's important to engage with us. Let us know what these challenges may be. From a transparency perspective, it remains our endeavor to highlight defaulters to our community. Example, the Dubai Food Trade Group. And if there's any other challenges in Dubai, one of the reasons we are where we are today is because we listen to the industry and we address them. You would see some moves that happens in Dubai and some changes that happens fast. One of the key strengths of Dubai is that we're agile to the market changes or the market demands. I do not want to take any more time from you guys. I will be passing to Sanjeev in a few minutes. I'd like to say that Brazil and the Latin American region is very important to DMCC and the government of the UAE. Some of the indications that that's the case now is that we have direct flights to Brazil and other areas in this region. We also have visa exemptions with Lima and other countries here. That is not just for tourism. That is actually to have closer ties with this area and understand the needs for this market and strengthen our trading relations. So with that, I will end this speech and thank you very much.
And now we have the honor of having another speaker from DMCC. It's a great pleasure to welcome Sanjeev Dutta. The other side.
Thank you. Thank you and good afternoon. Very interestingly, what Ahmed mentioned, before I just get on very quickly with a few slides, is the importance of the GPC to the industry and what that overall means to DMCC, not only in terms of hosting you there next year, but also in terms of providing the necessary support, i.e. in terms of, ensuring a transparent approach within the Dubai food trade community, especially for defaulters. And I think the other challenge that you've clearly seen is banking and related services and the impediments they sort of create in ensuring smooth trade. So we're trying to work on that as well. So end to end, it gets much easier. I'll quickly move on with a few slides, not to pitch DMCC, but to tell you the opportunities we can provide in terms of creating trade. Ahmed just mentioned we are about trade, we are made for trade. And I think when we say we are made for trade, we really mean that. And our statistics, not only in terms of the number of members we have, but also in terms of the trade volumes that we are responsible for, where we account for almost 10% of Dubai's GDP, speaks volumes. So the fact that we are the world's largest re-exporter of tea with up to a 60% market share, our newly established coffee center, which is state-of-the-art. It's there to build the bridges between the coffee industry globally. And again, as Ahmed said, much of the coffee and tea networks are very similar. So how is it that we can leverage upon that and create a new trade route? So very quickly, if you look at the vision of Dubai, we want to be the number one. Not only in terms of a rat race, but in terms of the kind of living conditions, the connectivity. It's a preferred foreign investment destination, which we all know about. I mean, I'm not going to go slide by slide, but I'll give you a generic flavor in the essence of time. So I've just talked about this. We are a basic global business hub. So we create demand and supply, and that's where DMCC becomes so important in terms of creating trade avenues where they don't exist, or bettering the avenues which exist. And a classic example that I give here is we've got one member who's a 150-year-old tea family in the UK. They were looking at expanding to markets in Australia, getting their teas in from Kenya, India, all the way to UK, blending it, and then shipping it back to the Australian markets. All of this took 4 months. And time is money, and money is time. So we, at our tea center, could sort of do everything in less than 1.5 months. So we've reduced working capital involvement by that amount. And on the contrary, in terms of qualitative aspect, what you've done is you've got the commodity to the end supply and a much quicker turnaround time. So some of the things which clearly speak about Dubai, the key words: central time zone, tolerance, safe. I mean, this is the year of tolerance, very important to mention. Last year was the year of Zayed. The year before was the year of reading. So there's always a theme which is dedicated every year. Again, investor-friendly, access to 65% of the global GDP within an 8-hour flight radius. But that does not mean, as Ahmed said, a 14-hour flight takes the focus away from a country such as Brazil. And of course, we are a gateway to the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. And that gateway concept works both ways, whether it's from the west to the east or vice versa. So a classic example is if Brazilian businesses are looking at expanding beyond the shores of their immediate reach and the African continent, But clearly the Chinese subcontinent, the Asian subcontinent, the Southeast Asian subcontinent, all of these become very relevant from a Dubai perspective. And that's exactly what I've mentioned in fewer words. Obviously, connectivity, commerce, standard of living, whether you want to visit, healthcare, education, all of it is state of the art. Ahmed's talked about this. So we were formed exactly a little over 17 years ago. So we're about 17 years and 1.5 months old. And the achievements have been far and several. We are commodity focused. Our relationships with our members begin the day they are registered, as opposed to the day they come on board, as in, approach us for a license. So our relationship really comes together, and that's why I mentioned the opening bit on GPC. It's very, very important for us to be able to connect commodity markets together, to create an infrastructure where necessary, to establish a marketplace, and all of this ensuring that there is a robust regulatory framework. So what do? We basically have 200 hectares of land. We've developed that physically to be able to service our members' requirements in terms of office space, residential space as well as retail space. And that we're only going to expand to our newest project, which is the Uptown Dubai project, which is again a state-of-the-art project to take our growth to beyond 16,000. And of course, 25 to 30,000 companies is the immediate horizon. Last but not the least, we are a trade facilitator. So all that we do is to facilitate trade. So our three verticals, clearly free zone, what I talked about. So if you want to set up a company and the rest of it. Property is once you've set up and you want to keep an office, whether it's a virtual office, whether it's a hot desk, whether it's a co-working space, whether it's large floor plate, we can give it all to you. And of course, most important and at the crux of everything is our trade enabling platforms, which I will talk about a little later. The benefits, obviously, tax 0%. Tax is 0 rated, so it's not nil, but it's not exempt, but it's 0 rated. It's 100% company ownership, so you don't really need a local partner. And most importantly, 100% capital repatriation ability, so there's no restriction at all. This again, is the residence visa that you get for 3 years at a time, provided you come back once every 6 months. I've talked about this. What you see is actually our free zone. Some key highlights. It's a live, work, play concept. It's not only about work or live or play, but three of them together. And obviously sustainability remains at the forefront of every effort of DMCC. So it's not about what we do, but how we do it. And when we come to the trade enabling verticals, I'll have a quick touchdown on those. 66 commercial towers, lots of hotels. So it's a complete ecosystem, 60,000 members, and obviously, most importantly, 170 nationalities represented within the free zone. Talked about this. That again is actually our free zone. And keywords there: heart of Dubai, live, work, play, world-class transport links, trusted partner, trade enabler, connecting businesses, and very competitive property prices, because what we build is all A-grade property, nothing less. That's the newer 10 million square foot development that we're building, because we're already full up, and that's a good news. So we want to go to the 25, 30,000 company horizon and create a larger ecosystem, and that's what our expansion looks like. Work is already underway on this project. So I quickly touched upon our relationship with our members. It really starts once you're on board. So what value do you find in becoming a DMCC member? It's not only about being part of an ecosystem, but also the fact that we continuously engage with different verticals, different industry segments. And of course, again, having the GPC over at Dubai would only add a crown to that set of achievements. So platforms, this is where it gets very interesting. So we own the Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange. So this is the largest derivatives exchange in the region and has been recording over $400 billion worth transactions year on year. nearing 20 million contracts year on year. Key contracts, obviously currency pairs, you have gold, silver, we've done steel in the past, plastics, we're looking at coffee. So obviously with a coffee deliverable in Dubai, it makes a lot more sense to the overall coffee market and would be a perfect balance between East and West. The Dubai Diamond Exchange, which hosts growing number of tenders. We are the second largest diamond district in the world and the tallest. So Almas Tower corporate office is the tallest diamond district, over 1,100 diamond members. The Trade Flow platform is an online platform for registering ownership of your title of goods, which you can then take to a bank to finance your working capital needs. We've talked about the Tea and Coffee Center. These are physical infrastructure pieces from DMCC where trade needed us to build something in terms of a state-of-the-art facility. So together, we are close to 47,000 square meters of facility, and we can do everything from warehousing, blending, roasting, and the likes of it. At the Tea Center, we've packed over 100 brands till date, over 50 million kilos. For the Coffee Center, our horizon is 20 million kilos, and very, very ambitious. Diamonds, we've talked about. Gold, we are home to some of the leading brands in the precious metal sector, and our Dubai Good Delivery standard is very well recognized and a perfect alternate in that part of the world. Tea, coffee, we've talked about. Agro, again, we continuously visit and revisit whatever options there are in terms of agro, whether it's in the marketplace segment or creating physical infrastructure. So we won't just stop at coffee, it could be anything else which warrants physical infrastructure and connects demand and supply. I talked about member companies of 170, clearly very diverse mix. Those are the leading brands which exist and continue to grow as part of the free zone. And that's what you do to set up, really. That shows you what we've done so far, from 20 companies to 16,000 plus. And every year has been marked with a milestone. The best free zone in the world for the last 4 years, rated by the FDI, is again immense pride to each of us working there. And the fact that, much of the employees are there in excess of 10 years speaks volumes of the organization. So yeah, in summary, welcome to DMCC, welcome to Dubai, welcome to trade.